Wait, we're already going. Hi, I'm Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls.
I'm Jason Ritter, the voice of Dipper.
And I'm Kristen Schaal, the voice of Mabel.
And this is The Time Traveler's Pig. This is one of my personal favorite first episodes from season 1. Because at this point in the series, we were still figuring out like the tone of the show, how spooky is it, how much of it is a sitcom. And this episode to me felt really funny. It felt really sweet. I really liked the rules of the magic of the adventure of it. Just, like, and the balance of every character has something that they want and it's all connected. We've talked in other episodes about my utter lack of experience in show running at this stage. And this is one of the episodes where I started to think like, oh, this show can actually work. Like this is a charming cast and it's a good location for magical weirdness. The red screwdriver that Grunkle Stan just made reference to has a lot of importance in season 2. That's the screwdriver that Seuss returns to the Mystery Shack that gets him a job at the Mystery Shack.
Oh my gosh, I never knew that.
We tracked these things, and it's the one that Blendon stole in this scene. And this, of course, Justin Roiland, who I don't think he hadn't been Lemon Grab, Rick and Morty hadn't started. So I discovered him. It's all mine. All the royalties for Rick and Morty go to me, guys.
But you guys were friends in college, right?
We weren't. I was a fan of his in college because I would watch his Channel 101 videos on it was before YouTube. I'd watch them as MOV files. And then when I came to Disney Channel, I was doing some development for them on the show called Fish Hooks. And I was in an office, bored out of my mind. I was really alone because there's no one else there. And they said, well, you want to work with somebody? Here's people on our list. And I said, Roiland, I'm a fan of his. And I was like, he's got such a funny, weird voice. If I ever get a TV show, I have to put him in. And now he's every voice on every show. I knew him before he was overrated, guys. No, he's the best. He's so funny.
He's my friend. Is he my friend? He's my friend.
We're all gonna fight over him. So the sort of origin of the concept of this episode was my twin sister always was obsessed with pigs. She had this shrine of pig toys when we were little kids. And at this point now, she's sick of it. People still give her pig socks for Christmas. And she's like, there's no way to get out of it at this point.
Yeah.
But one of our writers, Ori Wallington, who also worked on this episode, growing up, she had a pig named Waddles.
Oh.
Really?
And it was the cutest name. So she gets credit for the Waddles' cuteness. A lot of the suggestions came from her. But that was one thing I also knew before the series began. I was like, Mabel needs to get a pig at some point during the show for no other reason than, as we've mentioned in other episodes, to show that change is possible. So she wants to have a pet. She gets it. Next week, she's still got it.
Mm-hmm.
How did you think of TJ Miller for this part?
I think we actually went through a few different people for this part. And I got to give Disney casting credit. They'd heard him in, I think, maybe Cloverfield or something, and they played a clip, and I could completely believe him just being this cocky dude. This is a good read.
Thank you.
This is me doing my worst Foghorn Leghorn impression. I'm another character. How about this?
Look at him.
Who does the oinks?
I think D. Bradley Baker, very talented voice actor, and can do a lot of animal noises.
Oh, Pacifica.
Sir, I must have that pig.
15 poundy.
Yeah, Farmer Sprott is not too bright. This character, I think, designed by Aaron Springer, our director. Really, really funny director. And the weirdest expressions and funniest poses always come from him.
I love this line coming up. Yeah.
I've never had a child, but I imagine that's how you feel when you see your baby in your arms for the first time, is that everything is different now.
It is. And I just had a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank
Was
you.
it just like this?
Was
it was
everything
like
different?
looking at everything
Was the
is
baby
different
15
now.
pounds?
Almost. But the Waddles is Mabel's only romance that lasts the summer, really.
That's true. Mabel is very prone to love at first sight, and Waddles is able to love back with Mabel's degree of love. So this is I think this is the second time we've seen that ice bag, and the ice is in the Bill Cipher Zodiac in the theme song. our thought was that when we designed that Bill Cipher Zodiac for the theme song, like hate to demystify it for the fans, but that literally was when we were putting the theme song together. I just figured, let's have a cool image. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything. And originally the image was of a 6-fingered hand. And then I discovered that the TV show Fringe had a 6-fingered hand
really?
in its intro.
Oh.
So I was in an art meeting, and I was late for another meeting. And I told Ian, our art director, like, let's just make it like a Mayan zodiac calendar. Let's put Bill in the center. Let's put some spooky symbols around. I gotta go. And I came back.
But you put, I mean, like Robbie's shirt, or did you make Robbie's sweatshirt that after you created the cipher wheel?
Well, the theme song wasn't done until about episode 7 as well. So at that point, we just looked through the series to symbols that we had seen that seemed memorable. And so it was like Robbie's heart, Stan's fez, Dipper and Mabel. And then there's just a few other ones where like, ice, I guess. A llama, because we had done headhunters, and Larry King says llamas are nature's greatest warriors. Like, it didn't really mean a lot, and because it only existed for a single frame, we figured like a couple people will notice this.
Yeah.
And then when it became such an important, like, people were obsessed with it, we were like, oh, we should probably make this part of the show somehow. So that's why, I mean, again, I hate to demystify it for people who want to believe there's a grand plan, but that's why Wendy being the ice bag and Pacifica being the llama, like, we came up with explanations later for why, but it doesn't make as much sense as, like, Dipper with the pine tree hat, you know?
What's that all about?
My position has been compromised. Assuming stealth mode.
And there, every once in a while, there are like little clues in like that, right? Isn't that the Tyrannosaur
Yeah.
episode?
We see a little glimpse of Fight Fighters, a little glimpse of Land Before Swine. And again, that's just because animation is so slow. At the point that we were finishing this episode, we were beginning those episodes, and we had enough art, and I was just like, oh, stick it in at the last second.
That's so cool.
Just give a little bit of a hint. Because regular television network like production is not supposed to allow for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, also, an animation takes so long. Yeah, never mind.
That any last minute thought
Yeah.
also takes long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of the question. You know, this is sensitive, extremely complicated time equipment.
Time travel is something that I, as a kid, probably thought about daily.
I did too.
Like, I was constantly doing and saying things that I felt like I screwed up and wishing I could rewind them and
Oh.
wanting to fast forward childhood and skip to some imaginary adulthood where life might be easier.
No, there was a costume store right here.
Jason, what would you do with the time machine, Jason?
Oh boy. I've now watched so many movies that with time travel.
Have you been
that they
cautioned away
all-
from it? Do you fear
Yeah,
the butterfly effect?
I'm nervous that I would mess something up, and then. But the thing,
Spoken like a true dipper.
the horrible secret is that you would come back to a new universe and everything would be different, but you're the only one who knows
It's
what
so
you've
lonely.
done.
Yeah.
Like everyone else has just gone through their entire lives because they're in another timeline.
I mean, that's assuming there's just one time stream.
No, that's what I mean. Like
If you're hopping to another time stream and those things exist parallel to each other, then like you could hop to a future time stream, screw things up, and if you're like, just time to bounce to the first one, right? Like, so
Right.
you need not just a time machine, you need a dimension hopping machine.
yes, exactly.
And then you're good.
And then I'm good. Then I'm totally
Then you're
good.
golden.
Yeah. Ooh, there it is. That was your first mistake, Blendon.
We like the idea of having a
Yeah.
time traveler who I don't think we'd seen a lot of time travelers who were just completely incompetent at their job. Like the idea of somebody with this godly power who just should not have any of this level of responsibility. We drew a lot of designs. Whenever we start an episode, we put a big whiteboard in the writer's room, and we just I'll just get there and everyone shouts out suggestions, and I just draw stuff, and we try to figure out like, who's our time traveler. And I think this guy was a caricature of our head writer at the time, Dan McGrath. We're just like, let's make Dan the time traveler, and everybody loved it. So
Well, speaking of silhouettes, is that what is that coming out of Mabel's head on top? Is it just like messy hair?
oh, that little floof,
Yeah.
that hair floof. That was in animation design. You're always trying to create like a silhouette that's like specific and memorable, so that if you blacked out Bart Simpson or you completely filled in SpongeBob as just a silhouette, just from the shape you would recognize him.
Yeah.
And I was looking for some just little dumb thing to break that shape. When Super Mario doesn't wear a hat, he's got those little floofs.
Oh yeah.
I just stuck him in because I'm a big
way, I never
Nintendo
knew
fan.
that.
Like it was,
So
I think
it's
it was
just like
self-conscious.
messy hair.
That's so
It's just
cool.
supposed to be messy hair. Yeah.
That's I never realized that.
Folks, I'm talking to you, cutoffs.
I got to give credit to the artists on this episode. Directed by Aaron Springer. A lot of the scenes of this were storyboarded by Eric Fountain, who did a bunch of intense expressions. I'd say the hardest part of this episode was figuring out. We like this idea of Dipper has this very naive and forgivable, but ultimately wrong idea about romance. He's got that first summer crush thing where he would die 1,000 deaths to have her feel the same way. And I think many people have an unrequited love. They know what that feeling is like. But in Dipper's mind, he has to convolute a perfect moment with her. He can't just let things happen.
Right.
And this idea that, she likes Robbie and she got hit in the eye with this, in his mind, he needs to, it's sort of like Groundhog Day. He needs to
make the perfect day.
Make this perfect day because he's not perfect enough on his own. And for this reason, he does not deserve to get what he wants.
Yes.
Because his idea about the world and how it works should not be rewarded. But we had to figure out kind of a way to have his want and Mabel's want be against each other somehow.
Yes. Mabel's little flower in her hair is cute.
Oh, that was another thing that we were trying to do to just suggest her personality was every week a different sweater.
Yeah.
And Dipper never changes his outfit, which you guys are sitting with me right now. I'm probably wearing the same shirt that I wore for 90% of our record. So I'm like Dipper. I have no sense of fashion. I'm terrible at making choices.
Do you have 5 of those shirts?
Yeah, I'm just like Superman with all of the, or Doug Funny with all of the sweater vests.
Like Michael Jackson, you'd look in his closet at a certain point and it'd just be like...
I'm exactly like
white
Michael
shirts.
Jackson, guys.
Yeah.
I'm a talented pop star. This is kind of messed up that Waddles is eating pepperoni.
Why? Oh.
He ate around the pepperoni, guys.
It was originally a hot dog.
It was soyperoni or whatever they call it.
It was actually in the storyboard originally a hot dog. I was like, that's kind of messed up. Change it to something else. And then I didn't notice until later, the pig's still
I don't
kind
know
of a
what
cannibal.
pepperoni is, I guess.
It's made of pig, right?
I don't
it?
know. It's some kind of...
I've never questioned it. It's just like discs of meat.
Speed, factoring cotton candy.
Face it, Dipper, you're obviously fated to have a bad day at the fair. Just like I'm fated to be with Waddles.
It's like there's one variable missing.
What's a variable?
That's it! I figured out a way to
This is the only time in the series that we see Dipper doing advanced math.
Yeah, he's like Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, I kind of didn't want Dipper to be prodigy level good at math. I wanted him to be of relatively realistic intelligence for a middle schooler. I didn't want him to turn into that according to my calculations, I'm IQ from the BK Kids Club.
All right, that
But if
voice was
anything-
offensive.
But if anything, this would be the thing that would drive him
Yeah,
to find
it's
the
true.
calculations that
If there's
he
any
needed.
time that Dipper would get this good at math, it would be to undo his awful moment with Wendy.
And this is incredibly impressive what happens here, by the way. I mean, come on. That's the power of math, guys.
Why
if you
don't
learn
they-
how to do math.
They should sell those dolls.
Oh, that came from I love county fairs because they're often just kind of gross and sad and run by teen carnies, and there's a sense of you might die, and that amuses me. And I also love that they have such awful bootleg prizes.
Oh, yeah.
That you'll see SpongeBob,
Kind of off-brand,
but
slightly
he's
weird.
got the face of Mr. Incredible. So we wanted to honor that feeling of at Grunkle Stan's Mystery Fair, everything is the cheapest, worst option.
No.
Pacifica doesn't even appreciate them.
No, look at her. And Waddles can tell. Waddles.
Yeah.
One of many millions of screams we forced Kristen to do for this series.
Yeah.
Let's go get some, Dipper.
I love funnel cake.
This is a long take.
Yeah. I got good lungs.
Always makes me laugh.
And this wasn't one take. It was probably 5.
Knowing me, yeah, it was 50 takes. Until you're bleeding, it's not good enough, Kristen.
Again.
Are you an animal person, Kristen, in real life?
Well, I grew up on a farm. No. No, I'm not.
Did you grow up on a farm?
You
Yeah.
grew up
Is that
on
why
a
you
farm.
took exception to the word hick before?
Well, I just knew what a hick was.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would get a cut,
Uh-oh.
but I'm good.
And you didn't have any positive feelings towards the pigs on your farm.
We didn't have pigs, but I know pigs are smart, so I have felt bad about eating pork chops lately, but I still, like, my husband has a great pork chop recipe. Do you guys eat pigs?
Yeah.
I try not to,
Yeah.
but, you know.
I know,
they're
they are,
delicious.
apparently they're as smart as dogs. All right.
I've heard even smarter.
This third act was probably the last thing that we wrote for this episode because we knew what we wanted Dipper and Mabel to do in terms of their
I love this.
storyline. But you often see the same cliches in time travel stories, which is it's just a robot future or a dinosaur. And we wanted to see that, but I wanted to get a little Oregon-y. So like I wrote this scene in at the last minute of like what feels specific to Gravity Falls. I like that Mabel has no idea how old anything is and thinks this might be the 70s.
Why does this baby over here have a Band-Aid on its chin? Alex, is it possible that is Fiddleford?
But I've had a lot of people. I actually think that based on our canon, it probably couldn't be
Because of the age.
He'd need to be like the Highlander.
But it did send a lot of people.
It did send a lot of people
flurry.
wondering.
And
Yeah.
I know all the theories, guys. I've done all the research.
These characters, I believe, were designed by Phil Rinda, one of our character designers. He did an excellent job of just sort of miserable-looking frontier children.
I played Oregon Trail in elementary
I
school.
loved Oregon Trail. The only thing that was messed up about Oregon Trail was that you know, it was like name all your family, so you'd name them after your family members if you're not creative.
You're
like
the
I
only
was.
person who didn't call them like Poop Face and Buttman.
No, I was just like Tyler, Carly, and then
And then you get to watch them die.
Yeah, died
You
of
know, the
dysentery.
majority of people watching this don't know what Oregon Trail is.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, I know.
It's great.
For you little kids out there, Oregon Trail was a game,
A survival game.
a survival game in like the 80s and 90s where
Computers were first invented.
yeah, they were
for
black and neon green.
Yes.
And you would learn about how to ration tallow, which serves me in my adult life all the time. So this was our big reveal of the blend stuff.
And look at that shack. Look at the old mystery shack. Why does it look different? You
And
probably
so-
know because you watched it.
We knew, of course, at this point that Stan had a twin brother who ran the shack, but we didn't know exactly what he looked like. So his design there looks pretty different from how Ford ends up looking. Like, it's the right vibe, but
But it's also not Grunkle Stan.
It's not
there's-
Stan.
And you this was one of the only times where I got a clue where you showed me that still and you went, within this frame is one of the biggest secrets of Gravity Falls. And I spent so long looking in the background. I was like, what does that little picture mean? I didn't realize it was anyway, I should have picked up on it.
Well, and originally that in the storyboards, you saw his 6 fingers. He was peeking through the door, and you saw a 6-fingered hand.
Oh.
And I made us cut that at the last second. I was like, oh, that's going to give it away.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
too much. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I just thought maybe it was a younger Grunkle Stan, but I didn't realize. Yeah.
That's the red herring worked on you.
It did.
Just
It
as we
totally
wanted.
did. Even though you pointed it out to me directly, I still didn't pick it up. Oh, Mabel.
Oh my God.
So this idea that Mabel would be so heartbroken that she would just bang her head against this
pole.
totem pole for literally weeks and months is like, this is definitely stretching like our cartoon logic of like real Mabel probably wouldn't do that for that long, but
She's in love.
we definitely felt that we needed to use if time travel got us into this, time travel needed to get us out, and we thought there was a unique way to use time travel to suggest the depth of Mabel's longing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell myself that like at the same time every day in commemoration of this moment, she comes out and bangs her head against this, but then still goes back and like eats a sandwich.
Well,
Yeah.
if the vines are growing on her, though, then it has to.
Miserable Mabel, the girl who went bonkers after her dreams were shattered by some heartless jerk. Oh, hey, Dipper.
I don't know if it's a duck or a panda, but I want one.
Wendy, I just wanted to say that,
This is our sort of Dipper being a little bit more mature here, accepting his and Wendy's fate because time has ordained that this is going to happen.
And a 1 and a 2 and a
One of the problems with tight pants, guys, is that you can't put stuff in your pockets.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Big
And
pocket
I also
fan.
saw a guy in my school who would jam his hands into his tight pants and then walk around, and I saw him trip, and he could not get his hands out of his
In time
tight
to brace
pockets
himself?
in time to brace himself, and he basically like face planted.
That's hilarious.
He was okay.
I wish
everything
we
was
had
fine,
thought of that
but-
for Robbie, because that's such a good tight pants gag. So another one of the thoughts that we had kind of about villains in this series was, like, whenever we had a character that we really liked, thought was funny or thought was memorable, like Blendon, we hated the idea that they would just get defeated. We have, particularly in season 1, a lot of villains swearing vengeance. Jeff the Gnome swears vengeance. Blendon swears vengeance, because like it was our intent to eventually get back to him. Oh, I got another shout out to our storyboard artist, Eric Fountain. He's the one who gave them the names Lolf and Dungren. I think we told him, like, yeah, give these guys an outfit like Dolph Lundgren in some time travel movie, and Lolf and Dungren became their canon
Nice.
names for the rest of the series.
Hilarious.
You suckers, your pockets are empty.
Also, though, Blendon and a bunch of the other villains, a lot of them have sort of changes of heart, or the help, or
Sure, yeah.
It's very aside
They're
from
multi-dimensional, aren't they?
who's pure evil.
Well, it sort of gets boring to play the same note again and again of just vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. So generally, and also for Blendon, we didn't think of him as a villain. We just thought of him as just a guy who's a big loser who got to be a time traveler and is screwing up at his job. And even though he's quick to anger, we felt a little sympathy for him. Like Dipper and Mabel getting him sent to time prison.
Yeah, that's rough.
You feel a little bad. This is an Aaron Springer drawing coming up. That insane
That-
Waddles
Waddles?
face. Only Aaron could draw a pig that hilarious. I don't know if tight pants really worked that way, but it worked for the gag. And of course, our reference to Babe here, which was my favorite movie when I was 10. I was like, that talking pig melted my heart.
I forgot we do see
And of
the
course,
Time
the
Baby
first
in this
appearance
one.
of Time Baby. Time Baby was on our white board of different ideas for who a time traveler could be, and one of them was a Time Baby, which was so stupid that it made everyone laugh. So we found a way to put him into the episode.
Now, but there was also a mention of the Time Baby in when they're in the Quentin Tremblay underground thing. If you pause on
Yeah,
that.
well, we were sort of making them all concurrently and finding as many ways to
gosh.
hook up these episodes as
You
possible.
guys.